Hi everyone, Ben here from Art Less Ordinary. So I'm going to do another ghost reflection swipe. I'm going to use similar colours to what I've used in the past, but I'm going to add this colour here, which is called watermelon. So I've got watermelon, I have light violet, permanent light violet, turquoise, and I've still got the Americana, decoart Americana silver, but there's not a lot in there. So if I don't end up having enough, then I'll just add a little bit of this, which is the holcroft pewter. So all of these are holcroft apart from the decoart, and they're all mixed. I think it is 3-to-1 with floetrol, except for the black base. The black base is eraldo de paulo, and that is mixed 4-to-1 with floetrol. So I poured it on, pushed it around to the sides, but then I also tilt it until it covers all the 4 edges and comes nice and smooth, and as you can see, you get a lot of reflection. So it's the only issue is sometimes the camera doesn't like the floetrol because there's a lot of reflection, but hopefully that won't be a problem. So I am trying to work out which colours to put down first. I actually feel like I should put down the turquoise first. I think the watermelon and the purple will end up blending together a little bit better. Oops, just dirtied up my little stirring stick. Look, another one. So all as I'm doing is just stirring it because this is what I made up probably 5 days ago. So I just want to make sure that it's fully mixed. Paper towel. So I've learnt from before, start off the canvas and then go on the canvas. Otherwise you get one big blob at the beginning. So that's a very even thing. So you just start off the edge and then pour across once the pouring is started. Now I'll just put these over here. Now, just cleaning my stirring stick so I can stir the next colour. I may end up putting the silver between... part of me wants to put the silver down between the purple and the watermelon, but I'm not sure. So start off the canvas and then on the canvas. And again, the wave doesn't have to be completely even. Because I'm doing extra colours, it kind of doesn't really matter so much. Now, clean off my... So, the turquoise does bleed a little bit more than the other colour. So, it may end up being a little bit stronger. So I got some new cool cups and I can buy the lids too. So whatever I don't use, I just put a lid on and it's going to make life so much more easier for me. Looks like this colour is going to bleed a little bit too. Not as much as the turquoise. So all of these 3 colours are opaques. So the reason I like that is because it will mean that on a black background, the colours are dominant. If you do it on a white background, it's not so bad, but I always find if I use a black background, I need something to be dominant. Otherwise, the black starts showing through the transparents. I knew the word, I just couldn't think of it. So, and this extreme sheen, the decoart Americana metallic, is not mixed 3:1. I'm pretty sure I only did that 2:1, but I'd have to double check my notepad because I made it about a week ago. It's definitely thicker, so I'm trying to mix up my little wavy pattern. Yeah, it's getting a little bit thin in some spots. I'm just going to try and go over the line I've already got. I don't know if I really need to add the pewter. There's probably enough silver on there, I reckon. So, pewter, not going on. Keep that for my other project. Alrighty. So that's really the hard part of this whole type of painting is already done. Virtually covering the base coat and then pouring those on. The rest is just doing the swipes, and swipes are always fun. So I use different size cards. Not much different. I just prefer to have slight different shapes to go with. And now it's just a matter of doing some cool swiping. So every so often if the camera wobbles, it's because I lean on the bench where the camera's on. I try to not do that, but sometimes I do. So it's going to be quite different having the other colours in there. It's just a matter of laying the card on, pulling it across and trying to lift it just before. You can go all the way to the edge, but I try and lift it just before I reach the edge. And if you get this little bit which looks a little bit heavy, just overlap it slightly. And as you can see, now we're starting to get cells come up. Sometimes you'll get more cells than others, like that one there's getting lots of cells straight away, this one here not so much. So I like these, but I just wanted to add a little bit more different colour into it. And I thought, I saw that watermelon at the shop and I thought, I reckon that would actually suit it quite well. So that was my goal. And just keep going all the way across. Doing bits and pieces as you go. If that gets dirty, just fold it over till it's a bit cleaner. And then get to the next bit. So the only thing is, I find sometimes if I move it too fast, it skips a little bit, where I'm trying not to skip parts. So I'm not getting as many cells yet, but that might alter. I'm just got to do a little bit on the edge. The edges can actually be a tough one to get to. So I'm going to turn this around and I'm going to get dirty hands because it's what happens. When I tilt the black over the canvas, there's always black underneath. Yep, black fingertips. So we'll clean them off. This paper towel's getting a bit dirty, so we'll get rid of it anyway. Okay. Get our fresh paper towel ready for this other side. I'm getting cells. I would have liked more. We'll see how it goes, because sometimes it develops in time. So start off with another fresh card. But I'm liking it how I do have the purple, or the violet. I do have the turquoise, but I've also got the watermelon in there, and then the silver as well. So these actually come out. My hands are clean enough. I can pick this one up. So they actually do come out quite shiny. I don't know if it's hard to see what the camera sees. So the silver, once it dries, comes up nice and shiny. So that was the original one I did. So I'm doing same colors except for adding watermelon to it. It's funny, when I first started painting, I wouldn't have picked watermelons and pinks. I was like, nah, they're not colors for me. But I'm really enjoying the colors actually. They are better looking in a painting than I had thought in my head. So now we're going to try and go and touch the same area where we did the other one. So again, swipe it across. And if you don't like that edge bit, just overlap it slightly. And each time, wipe your card off. Go again. So what I try and do is when I lift my card, sometimes I try and lift it slightly that way, and other times slightly that way. So then you get the different points. Not always easy to get it right, but that's the thing with this art, is it doesn't have to always be perfect. And if you've got a plan in your head and it doesn't turn out, it can taint your opinion of your painting. So put it aside, let it dry, look at it a couple of weeks later, and once you've got your first impressions of what it should have been, you actually find it's not that bad a painting. You weren't as keen on it at first because it wasn't what you had planned. So don't ever be too hard on yourself. We're all a little bit, I think a lot of us as artists are a little bit self-critical, but you got to have some there to make sure that you are actually trying to strive to be better, but you don't always have to be perfect. I tell you now, as human beings, most things aren't perfect, so no point always trying. I think it's just I enjoy doing this art. This is so much fun to me. I actually can't wait to get home and start on a canvas, finish work, get home, and it's like, what can I paint today? So I sit down, watch a bit of TV while I think about it, put some dinner on, and work out what I want to paint. And I like doing the videos for a couple of reasons. One, I like to show other people how to do things, or even if people know how to do things, it might be a different technique. Also, I do it so I can look back and go, that was one of my favourite paintings. I can recreate this as good as I could by trying to follow my footsteps in a way. And I show people all my paintings at work, and I show my family. I'm either talking about paintings or I'm talking about gardening. And this is it. It's just a matter of continuing to swipe. If your card feels like it's getting soggy, swap it over. Don't use a soggy card. You can also do this using plastic. So if you've got little if you've got like a plastic sheet that you use for big swipes, if you want to cut it into business size things, perfect, because then it won't get soggy and you can just keep reusing them and reusing them. I've just got lots of these because they were a colour that were no longer being used, so instead of them going in the bin, I grabbed them so I can do my art. And again, edges are always the harder part to do when it comes to these. You want to get it close enough without pushing in hard on the edge. But we're getting some cool cells, even like, well, lacing, bubbling cells, whatever you want to call it. We'll call it effects. Getting cool looking effects. So I'm really pleased with the way that the colours have come out. Neither colour has dominated over the other, and they're all quite complementary. So the silver is there, virtually on top of the other colours doing a shimmer, but we've got the violet streaks coming through where the violet has been the more stronger colour when you swiped. We've got ones where the turquoise has become the stronger colour when we swiped, and other ones where the watermelon has become the stronger colour. So as you can see on this side here, it's settled in a little bit more. This is still fresh. As this ages over the next 5-7 minutes, it will get a bit more subtle in its colouring. So usually the silver seems to not dominate, but it moves the paint ever so slightly, where if you stood here and watched it, you would go, it's not moving. But when you take a picture and come back 5 minutes later and look at it again, it has changed. That's just what happens. So I'm pleased. There's nothing I really want to alter. If you have an area where you think needs an extra swipe, get a smaller card, even cut it even thinner if you want to. So if you've got an area which is really heavy in colour that you want to alter that, cut it down to even 1 centimetre and just do a tiny little slither. That's probably the better way of trying to fix it than get your big card and go all over what you've done. Because if I try to swipe over and I hit any of these cells, it's going to change their shape. They will come like an unusual shaped teardrop, but the cell will be there, but then one side of it will pull all the way down. I don't like that effect for myself, so I tend to do it once, leave it. And the only other thing, because I did put the black on and pour it over the edges, I am just going to do an extra scrape just to make sure that I've got no drips. It's always good to do on your paintings anyway, so if you get used to doing it all the time, then you'll probably have better results. It's a tiny little bit of black. Yeah, perfect. So sometimes it's good to do things just to get yourself in the habit of it, because scraping edges on your paintings is something you want to make sure that you always do. Even if it doesn't actually need it. If you do it and it doesn't need it, you don't have to keep going back. But at least if you form yourself that nice habit of doing it, then you shouldn't forget in the future. Not saying you won't ever, but it does help you realize that it's just some things that you got to do. So, ta-da! I'm super happy with this, but before I do this, I'm going to show you something else. Oh. Sorry, I just had to get it from the drying rack. So this is one of my bloom tiles that I think it's dry. It's quite shimmery. So what happened was the surface wasn't completely flat, so a lot of the blue went to one side. But I don't mind that. I still think it gives it a nice feature. It doesn't, virtually you've still got the lacing through here and the cells and bubbles and cool effect. Like I say, don't have to be perfect. If someone goes, nah, that's not even enough, I don't like it, who cares? I'm just going to varnish this up with a nice heat resistant varnish, or I'm not really into resin yet. I really can't afford to start buying resin because I'll love it too much. I'll want to do it every day. So I'm just going to use a heat-proof varnish, and even if it's not your perfect piece, keep it in the kitchen. Put some cork underneath it, put it in the kitchen, and when you're cooking, put your utensils on there, like your scoops and your stirrers that you're using, and that way there, you've still got a beautiful piece of art. It doesn't have to always be out in the prominent spot. And I love this. I don't really care that it's got more blue on one side and silver and purple on the other. It's still fantastic. So keep that in mind. It's like that with most things. So this is still settling in. I believe, see how it's kind of, the colours are kind of melting a little bit into each other. They're not so much staying as defined. That's another thing. Don't always think, oh, I've got to fix that straight away. Let it settle into itself. These cells were tiny before. Now they're getting nice and big. It's pretty cool. I would have loved if I had lots more of this cells and lacing, but it doesn't worry me. It could be because with my silver, I didn't put as much floetrol in, because if I put too much floetrol in, it just gets real runny and it bleeds more than it is now. And you don't want it to bleed too much. But I am happy with this. I'm going to bring you down for a close-up. And there we are. This is my angle. I'm really stoked with this. That watermelon really goes well with those other two colours. As soon as I saw it in the shop, I thought, no, it's going to go perfect with the turquoise and the violet. So we'll come in closer and I'll try and keep the camera focusing. Doesn't always like me. So as you can see, the colours are kind of bleeding into each other a little bit. There's silver there. Doesn't shimmer as much until it's dry. We've got cells here. Does have that little ghosty, wispy effect in it. And over this side, just ignore the ring light, I can't change that. But let me get in. See how you get some cool effects? And as this dries, they're more noticeable. So ultimately, this is a 12 by 16 canvas, which I can't remember how many inches it is. But that's the end artwork, and that is looking pretty good. I'm stoked. So yeah, try this at home yourself. Virtually it's just a tiny bit of paint. I used, I think, 5 grams of paint with the floetrol added, and I didn't even use, focus camera, I didn't even use half of this. So I've got enough to do 1 or 2 more paintings with the same paint. Like, how cool is that? Really, the main thing that you use is the black for the background, but that's 4:1 with floetrol, so it's not like you're using a ton of paint. But yeah, that's it. Subscribe, share, leave comments, like, tell me what you think. Tell me if you think there's other colours that would go well with it, or whether I should substitute a colour for another colour. All those things help me, and I just enjoy hearing what people have to say. But yeah, thanks so much. Enjoy, and I'll see you next time. Bye.